saved for just a couple minutes. This isn't going to be long. I'm also testing the other device to see how it works during live streams. I like to try it out a couple of times, different ways. So I think I did turn comments off on this one because, again, it's not going to be super long. So I wanted to add on to yesterday's. I was kind of catching up with everybody and going over just the high strangeness that is always my life, and just to highlight what's going on in this area. And in case it's all fake or actors and whatnot, just running game on me for some reason. At least I'll have documentation of that as well. And maybe someday my testimony will help somebody else not to make the same mistakes that I have made, especially regarding my own consent or lack thereof, my own lack of understanding about consent and what that really means. Let's look at the sky a little bit, the tree line. Alright, so I told you that church, even church here is weird for me. I went to the regular Catholic church, and that was strange. The father started talking about the third eye, and that comes into this conversation a little bit. I know I was being made fun of because I had mentioned how certain substances will open that up, and if you're not ready for them, that the things you see can scare you and frighten you. And they were kind of mocking me around here for that. Of course, they weren't using my name, but telling stories in front of me and, you know, just making a mockery of me. Pretty sure the young men I worked with yesterday were testing me, but I think I proved my mettle, so that's good. They can run circles around me and I'm not as fast as them, but I can do the job, so that's a good thing. Anyways, the confessional, I told you, so I decided to go to the Latin Mass because I saw that they were trying to outlaw it, and I said, well, then maybe the devil really does hate Latin, so I decided to go. I've told you how there's like a choir up above and they sing in Latin, but the responses that we give in Latin, I don't know, like there's a sermon, there's a homily, and then there's the actual like procession of the Mass, and that was weird because it's almost like there was parts that were added, because the church does the same topic all over. Every church that is Catholic on that day talks about the same topic or the same part of the gospel, and it's continuity. You know, somewhere in the world somebody else is reading what you're reading and you're in communion with them no matter where they are, kind of like when you join in prayer that way too. So it involves you. But I told you how it seemed to, I would pull up the regular missal for the day, just some generic thing online that I found, and there was always bits added, and I can't seem to find like what's going on. So I'm gonna buy a paper missal because I don't want to misstate anything or say something's going on, but it would be very easy if you don't know Latin for them to like commit sacrilege right in front of you, and you wouldn't even know it, right? If you don't know that language. And I think oftentimes the media banks on that ignorance, like our lack of knowledge. Everywhere, except everybody is bilingual except people in the US, but everywhere else people speak English. That's odd to me. That kind of says something to me. And all this talk about how English is backwards and this, that, and the other. Well, yeah, it is compared to other languages, but why does everybody everywhere speak it? And just these inconsistencies that you notice. So anyway, I told you about how I talked to the priest the first time when I went in, and he seemed all right. And so I started going to Mass there, started going to confession there. And I told you, there's a few things I've left out. Okay, I told you before the eclipse happened, there was an older woman outside of the church selling t-shirts from the Humane Society for Animals, right? And I bought 2 of them. And I told you how that was just weird to me, how what came to mind was the Witch and the Apple and Snow White, because she was hanging out outside of the church and she didn't actually go in. Now there's a reason I'm saying all this. It's not just to air my life story, okay? Again, this is God showing me things in my everyday life, even though I'm not out in the world, like the bigger world. It's me translating them and interpreting them because for some reason it ends up being an issue in the public. God told me when this all began that I was a witness. When I said, you know, what am I to do? In prayer, I heard witness. And so that's what I'm doing. I'm witnessing and speaking about the things that I'm seeing and the high strangeness and just the like diabolical activity and the damage control they're doing everywhere for it, like with demon syndrome. I mean, come on, how it's exasperating how unintelligent they think that we are. And so that's sad. So anyway, I'll continue. That was probably a bunch of trolls just seeing if they could like leave mean comments or something, I don't know. Anyways, so that was a weird thing that happened. And I'm gonna try and do this chronologically. So around like my second time going there, second or third time going there, I've been going for a year now, a little over a year. And around my second or third confession, and why am I saying this? Because the seal of confession, they talk about the seal of confession and how a priest is never supposed to air your sins, right? He's never supposed to tell them. There's this seal of confessional, and they're seeking to break that now so that they can go after criminals. I think there's another reason for it. I think I would bank on it that there were probably in the past quote-unquote spies that were hearing confessions or sneaking into confessionals, or who maybe were actual priests. I wouldn't doubt that, because people lie. You know, it doesn't matter what group you're in. We've all lied from time to time about one thing or another. We lie every day about who we truly are. So it's almost second nature to us, and to stop doing that, it really takes an effort of will. You really have to have a strong will to just be your, or at least strive to be your genuine self. So anyways, the seal of confessional. And I was thinking about how the confessional seal is called a seal, and how the book of Revelations, it says these seals, the 7 seals of God, will be opened up. That rings funny to me, how everybody again condemns the Catholic Church, but here we have another parallel with the sacraments, and they're called seals, and you have the 7 seals mentioned in the book of Revelation. I'm doing a video, so it's got to get very, very loud. Anyways, so one of the other times that I confessed there, I told him about a dream that I had about Mary, because he's your confessor, you're supposed to be able to do this. And I was testifying that like she was good, and like she got rid of whatever was bothering me in my sleep. I was, you know, I have nightmares my whole life from time to time, and I know that it's some lower level frequency interfering with my own personal vibration. And again, I don't want to go demons in front of people and have people run off screaming. Scientifically, you can look into this, that we're all on a wavelength or a frequency, and it's very possible that heaven really is at hand, and we just can't see them here because they are on a different, higher frequency than we're currently on, okay? So bear that in mind. So every time I go, for whatever reason, the one priest starts coughing, and it's just weird. It's like when he walks by me, or it's just very strange. And so that's weird. And then another thing that's weird is I told him this dream about Mary, and he said, well, no, that couldn't possibly have been a dream about Mary. And I'm thinking, okay, that's one, right? You give people 3 things, right? And that's one. You're not supposed to not edify somebody's faith. You don't have to say, well, I believe it was her, but you could have said, well, you know, obviously your prayer is working, and, you know, your night terrors are gone, you know, and that's good. That's a blessing. But he didn't say that. And then I tell the one, and the first one was really cool. I said, I did something God didn't want me to do. I said, and I don't know how it is for everybody else, but for me at this time, I'm not supposed to be consuming animals. God told me right before CV began not to eat meat. And it's become very offensive to me. It tastes very strange. It smells very strange to me being cooked. It's just, there's something not the same. And the one priest was good with it. He's like, well, you know, we all have to go by our conscience as well, you know, and that is, you know, the voice of God within. And he was real cool about it. The other one, because again, I'm testing their spirits as I'm confessing. I confess to the same thing again. Oh, hold on. There's people going by. Be a good boy. Be a good boy. Oh, sweet boy. No, don't run and don't bark. Hey, hey. Oh, no, they're riding bikes, huh? Come here, sit down, be a good boy. Sit down. Thank you, guys. Sorry about that. It's so nice to just be outside and do, you know, a video outside sometimes. You just drank water. We'll have to get you more. So I tell the other guy this thing about, you know, the meat. And he says, well, that's not God. That's not God talking to you. And he said, well, maybe it's the Holy Spirit, but it's not God. And I didn't even know what to say. I was like, okay. And for whatever reason, this last time I went, this was the more normal one. And I'm not going over every single confessional that I had. I'm just, you know, kind of trying to slim it down here. Something I told him when I went back to work, and this was exactly a year ago because I was a cashier at the other place. Exactly a year ago, somebody came through my line that looked a lot like my husband's cousin, although I haven't seen her in about 10 years, so you should think she would look older instead of younger. And she tells me what I confessed in the confessional, and it was very specific. She says, you know, sometimes I get jealous of people and being able to travel, and, you know, that's exactly what I had said. I was like, I'm back in the world now, and I find myself a little envious of people who get to, you know, travel freely. And so this girl said this back to me. I'm so tired of people telling me that, like, this is my imagination or they're coincidences. I've done this so many times and proven, like, these aren't hallucinations. These are actual people I'm talking to, and they're actually gaslighting me this much. And I guess they know not what they do at this time. So anyway, one of the more recent confessionals, when I'm in there, it sounds like somebody's fighting, like rolling around and banging off the walls. Now here's the thing, the priest can exit, like when they exit the little confessional, it goes a different way. So you don't see him, even if you're outside the confessional, it goes into a different room. It doesn't go back into the church worship area, the sanctuary. And so you conceivably, like, anybody could sneak in there if they wanted to. If you were important enough and they wanted to hear what you were talking about, they could just sneak in there. So I hear like this tussle, and I'm like, oh my gosh, is he like okay? What's going on? And all I can think of when I hear that, and again, I'm trying to relate it to things so you can understand, is Scooby-Doo and the gang. Like when they would like wrestle with somebody and catch them and take the mask off. I'm like, what is going on in there? You know, this is a church. And after, and he said something, he said something about fasting. I said, I fast and I pray the rosary, and I feel like I'm a little stuck. And he started telling me, well, you know, fasting in the original sense was meant, and it's like somebody kicked him. Like he kicked the wall or something, and it was like, well, you know, we better go, if you're through, then I absolve you, and then, you know, just say 5 Hail Marys as your penance, or whatever he said. And I'm like, what is going on, right? So then I'm sitting in the church procession, you know, in the pews, after this, and the priest who's gonna come out and like do the sermon and the mass and all that, it sounds like he's fighting with somebody, like somebody's yelling at him, like right before church. And I'm like, you can't make out what's being said. It was very garbled, you know what I mean? It was just a momentary, because when it's quiet in the church and something happens, you can really hear it. And that's why they have good vibrato and good reverb in there for the choir and for the old organs and the music. That's why they were built the way they were built. Music tames the savage beast in us all. So anyways, I go back this time. I hope I'm not forgetting something. Oh, so then the last time I go to church, before yesterday or whatever, 2 days ago, there's somebody in the pews, and he ends up sitting in the same pew that I'm in, and it's just me and an older woman, whoever sit there. Me and her, we sit in the back, because I don't have a family, nobody goes with me, so I just sit in the back all by myself. And yes, it's pathetic, but anyways, there was a man that was sitting there, and he looked like the man who told me he was a fallen angel, only a little different. Remember how I said it's almost like a game of Guess Who, like everybody's kind of, their bodies are changing a little bit in some type of way. Again, you see it with Madonna and all these celebrities, and it's not just AI, like the puffiness and the poofiness, and you know, it actually changes the shape of the face, and it's just bizarre, right? It looked just like him, and what that told me is, okay, this is not consecrated ground. Something is wrong here. So then the last time I go back, and I'm like, all right, I'm gonna go. I'm not gonna be deterred. I'm gonna go to church. I'm gonna go what I go for. I'm gonna unburden myself, you know, in confession. and I'm going to pray for my family and my neighborhood and, you know, my coworkers and just everybody. I'm just going to go. So I go, and towards the end of the Mass, when they were playing the music and the altar boys were walking out and everything, and everybody was getting up to leave, there was like this growl. And I look around to see if anyone else heard it, if it was something maybe that echoed through the speaker. And I saw like one or two people kind of turn, but then when nobody else said or did anything, they didn't do or say anything. And you're gonna say, well, maybe you hallucinated that. Okay, well, tell me about this coincidence. And I didn't tell anyone this story yet. This is the first time I'm saying it aloud. Yesterday, I go into the Mexican restaurant after work. And I told you I've had a few issues there with the one guy that works there, but I'm not going to give him a hard time because, you know, you don't know, right? And some of the people there have been really nice to me, really good to me, and I really enjoy their company. The one gal that works there, she just reminds me so much of like my own family. It's like talking to my sister. But anyways, so I'm like, I'm going to go back. So the same young man that I heard call me a punta, and I had to give him shit about it because everybody knows what that means. Most people anyways. He walks by me yesterday and he growls at me. And I'm thinking, okay, maybe I imagined that. You know, something happened in church that was kind of wild for a church. So maybe I'm just imagining this, right? And then the next time he goes by, he growls again. And there was two women in the booth. We were just tucked away in a corner, like all by ourselves. Nobody else was there in the area we were in. And I was just waiting for my takeout. And the woman said, did he just growl at you? I said, I think he did, but I didn't want to say anything because I thought I was imagining it. She's like, oh no, he did. And like, she started talking to me about how she has a business and this, that, and the other. But so yeah, after being in church, when I heard an audible growl, this kid at the Mexican restaurant starts like snarling at me every time he walks by me and then giggling uncontrollably. This is my life. Like, you have all these people with these found footage things that I think some are real and they're just passing off as fake because that's, again, this is how they signal each other. They're not going to use normal means of communication. Once they've committed to a task or they've completed a task, they're filming it and they're putting their little signs and signals in it for other people to see. And some of it is spreading like a contagion for one reason or another, because for some reason it seems like when you put surveillance around people or when you run a streaming camera in your home or wherever, it seems to actually cause or exacerbate paranormal and supernatural activity. And I would say it's because of the frequency, right? It's constantly running. So any energy can just attach to that and theoretically enter your home because of that. But this is my life. Like, in the very beginning of this, I said it felt like the Truman Show. And just because I said that, now everything's been like that. So I'm going to say very soon, everything's going to feel like peace and harmony, I hope. Because this is very strange. And I do document it again just to show people, like, things aren't as black and white as we may have thought that they were. Like, they're just not. You tired? See him, he's probably hot and ready to go in. But I wanted to add that on to yesterday's stream for anyone that watched, because I was just catching you up on the high strangeness and a few things that I saw in the news and some other things that I've been putting together with their signs and signals and these videos that they're showing us. And again, not everybody is our enemy. Some people are trying to help us, but you have to be able to put the clues together, because most people are willing to risk their lives, but they literally don't want to be disappeared. So they're not coming right out and saying certain things. And some people have families that, you know, they don't want to put in harm's way. So they do things in code that way. I don't know. It's just also weird to me. It's all so strange. And it just gets to be exhausting. And now it's just sad. Like somebody must hate me pretty bad to go through all this trouble. And I'm like, man, is it the AC? Is it the Antichrist? Is it the Satan itself? Like, what is happening? So I try to say good things and blessings over my day now, and I do pray for all of you guys, so please know that. And as I always say, I hope that the Holy Spirit goes ahead of you to soften the hearts and minds of those that you interact with, and I hope that the fire of the Holy Spirit is left behind you as a testament to the fact that He, she, it is with you. I love you guys. Please don't be hard-hearted. Please try and, oh, this is the other thing, compassion. I said to somebody who's supposed to be a loved one, you know, every now and again it would just be nice to get a little compassion from you. Mind you, again, these are private conversations. No one else is supposed to hear them unless we would share it with them. I'm telling you now for a reason. The person ended up snapping at me and saying, all you ever want is compassion. That's all you want. And I said, well, he said, you want it all the time or something like that. And I said, well, I didn't know it was like a resource that you ran out of. So is love conditional? Is our compassion conditional? Can we talk about that in the comments? Because that's distressing to hear somebody actually say things like that out loud. And you know, like, there's no spiritual life happening in there. And it, of course, makes me sad. And it also made me sad for him and sad for myself. So I just wanted to know what somebody else thought about that, because that doesn't seem like a normal thing, or, you know, a well-adjusted person with a heart would say. And, you know, it was honest because it was snapped out, like in a moment of anger, like it just slipped out. Like, well, that's all you ever want. And that might be true, but I mean, I try not to whine. I try not to complain. This is a loved one, you know, that I live with, so that should be different. I should be allowed to express my woes and my pains and my groans and my griefs to this person. I don't know, I see other people, like I'm gonna have to cut the grass again, and there's some weeds that I'll have to take care of. And I see other people working in their yards together, taking walks together, taking bike rides together. And I have always done those things alone. I hope you guys have somebody. Everybody should have somebody. All right, thank you for being here. We'll talk again soon, guys. Bye.